Hey guys, and welcome to another Ramble video. As with the two previous ones, the game in the background is Warframe. This is being recorded right after the last one. Last one was the E3 and negativity ramble, while this one is about my thoughts on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And as I said before, they are generally positive, but I do want to talk more in depth about it. So, first thing I want to talk about is the fact that, yes, we do have a date. It comes out in March, which is kind of crazy. We've been waiting this long. Well, you people who played the original have been waiting this long. I've been waiting like a year. But, yeah, it comes out within a year. Well, more specifically, the first game comes out within a year because it is a multi-game episodic experience. But let's talk about that word episodic, because that fairly is worrying a lot of people. So, for Square Enix, when they're talking about episodic, they mean like the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy was episodic. Not like how Life is Strange, to use another Square Enix game, was episodic. Just getting that out of the way, don't worry, it's going to be full games. It's not going to be an hour of a game at a time. That would be a little ridiculous. In case you're wondering, I'm running the survival mission to unlock the void, because that's where my progression is taking me next, I guess. So yeah, and the first game is going to take place in Midgar, and that's the entire first game, Midgar, which I'm okay with this. I'm okay with having 50 hours of game in Midgar, and here's why I'm okay with, such relatively small locations for each game. The original Final Fantasy VII actually did a lot of things worse than the SNES games. Each location felt completely independent of each other. There was very little world cohesion. Costa del Sol, I think was the place's name, was a vacation place, like a resort city, but in Final Fantasy VI, the different kingdoms had relationships and diplomacy implied. You didn't go through it because it wasn't that kind of a game, but you knew that there was obviously communication and trade and all that. In Final Fantasy VII, the locations could pretty much exist in a void, which makes it really funny that Wutai kind of did actually exist in a void, and it was mentioned when every other city kind of gave that idea. So, to flesh out the world and give more opportunities for a connection between the locations in the world, I'm okay with having much more focused games or episodes. Another reason I'm okay with this is it gives opportunity for feedback between games. So if there are mechanics that aren't fleshed out enough, or if there are gimmicks that people don't like, they can get that feedback and go, okay, we're not going to include that, or we're going to fix that up in the future games. Where if it was one big game, like 15, it would just be a complete mess. Remember the constant updating required for that game? That was only 50 endo. This is not worth staying at, I don't think. So yeah, I am more than okay with the format they're going with. Another thing is they don't know how many games it's going to take, which, once again, ooh, Rubido. Oh, it already got looted. I need to move over to it. Yes, I do. I'm okay with this, because here's the thing. If they set an arbitrary number of games, then that means that there's going to be an issue eventually of either they have to completely fluff out games to make sure they fit that number of games, or they have to cut things way too short and wind up with a similar situation where most areas don't get fleshed out at all. And the reason I'm going over this is there are a lot of doomsayers for this game. And it's kind of exhausting to see this as a constant, just people being like, this game is going to be terrible all the time.
This tower is full of life forms, all corrupted by the neural sentry. Clean them out.
Just based on extremely limited information. Like, I am looking forward to this game, partially because I've accepted that it's a complete reimagining. It's not going to be Final Fantasy VII again, which, good.
As long as the enemy is here, this tower is useless to us.
I do have one slight problem, and that's that Cloud sounds like too much of a good boy at the start of the game. Because he is a little bit of a bastard at the start of the game. Like, hopefully the voice delivery will at least be more fitting than the voice itself. But, yeah, just, it's gonna be a good game. I don't get why people are freaked out. Like, 15, from all accounts, from people who've actually played the game, and that's a big one. That is important to know. People who've actually played the game say it's real good. But of course it's Final Fantasy, so someone's going to be mad about the game. Because that's the thing about being a franchise about trying new things. People are going to say, oh, I miss the old days when they were the same. Because those old days existed, apparently, which is news to me. So, now that I've ticked off all of the Doomsayers, we saw gameplay, and the gameplay looks great. It looks like a blend of 13 and 15 combat. No, wait, the combat was the good part of 13. Even people who didn't like it agree. Come back. But yeah, like, for those who didn't see or forgot about the gameplay portion, you have your standard action combat, and then you build up ATB gauges, which allow you to pause the game and activate abilities like spells or materia skills. And of course, we do have limit breaks. And those were all shown during the bombing run, so it's not going to be like 13.1, where the problem is the mechanics get introduced way too slowly. Although I will say the Scorpion tank did seem like it was a bit of a damage sponge, but that may have been so that they can show off how flashy combat is. This is a cool freaking tile set, by the way. I didn't know what was going on there. Oh, ice tiles. I love that they've managed to modernize designs while keeping the original spirit. Tifa is extremely lanky still, and that's good. Which, admittedly, I didn't notice that until Kyan pointed it out on Twitter, that she was so awkwardly built in the original game. Let's see. I'm curious how equipment is gonna work, because I kind of doubt we're gonna be using weapons besides the Buster Sword. I feel like we're probably gonna be upgrading the Buster Sword in this one. I'm slightly confused as to what the shadow things that were shown swirling around Sephiroth, Cloud, and Aerith were. I don't know if that's just like a physical manifestation of the whole Genova thing, or if that's something from Dirge or Advent. Because I have not really participated at all in the extended, or the final collection of Final Fantasy VII, I think is what the official name for that franchise, mini-franchise is. Like, I haven't watched the movie, I haven't played Dirge, or while aware of the story, Crisis Core. So, if anyone happens to know what that specific thing was, I'd like to know. Yeah, honestly, I think it's gonna be real good, and I'm glad that we're gonna get to play through Midgar so soon. And I do hope that they don't rush out the future games, because Nomura needs a break. It's like, seriously, Nomura really needs a break. after Kingdom Hearts 3, TWUI Remake, and having been on Final Fantasy VII for so long. And having been on Final Fantasy 15 until, like, the last couple of years of development. And then having all his work on that scrapped, basically. Like, I'm surprised that he does not look as, like, exhausted as Kojima did right after MGS5 came out. Man, this is a pretty lengthy kill mission. I like it. But yeah. It looks great. I don't understand the constant naysayers for everything Square Enix does. Like, they must be doing something right, and... yeah, really my only complaint is that Cloud's voice does not fit his character early game. It's not southern enough. And you can't tell me that Nibelheim is not supposed to be, like, rural. They are a tiny mountain town whose only export is Mako.
Broken their ranks and they are on the run. Another successful mission. Find extraction.
Anyway. That's my thoughts on 7. And just the whole thing surrounding it. Hopefully it can take 7 from being a good Final Fantasy to being a great Final Fantasy. But I think it will. Especially because, again, the thing about Final Fantasy is change. Every game is different unless it's within, like, a sub-series like the 13 trilogy. And even then, Lightning Returns was completely different. It was apparently it was basically a Valkyrie profile game. Which I want to see them work on after they port Romancing Saga 3. Just so I can finally freely play them. Anyway, this isn't about me being happy I can play Romancing Saga 3 and actually understand the text, because the translation is terrible. This is about Final Fantasy VII Remake. But yeah. Thank you for watching / listening to the Ramble.